Hello, product people. Welcome to the Product for Product podcast, hosted by Matt Green, data advocate and product manager, and Moshe Mikanovsky, product leader and author. Our goal is to serve the product community by helping you find products that can help make your work in product management easier. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Product for Product podcast.
Welcome back, everyone. On today's episode, Moshe and I are excited to speak with founder and product leader Lea Khasidi about gender-based analytics for product managers. So let's dive in. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here.
It's great to
Uh,
have you. Hey, Moshe.
Hey Matt, hey Leah, welcome to the show. This is a very interesting topic. So when I saw that you like to talk about that, I'm like, yes, we have to have you on the show.
Absolutely.
Amazing. I do love talking about it. It's something that I came across a couple of years ago, and ever since, I just can't stop. Actually writing a book on the topic for product managers and entrepreneurs as we speak.
Ooh.
So
Oh,
hopefully I'll
amazing.
finish soon.
So we got the scoop also. So when you have the book out, let us know. We'll be happy to have you again.
Amazing. I would
For
love
sure.
that.
For sure, for
And
sure. Yeah, when we started the show, analytics was like my buzzword. So, it's slowly gone into more AI kind of things these days, but I always kind of go back to my roots of analytics for sure.
yeah,
I
slightly is a
think
bit
it's
of understatement.
Slightly is an understatement. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, if you're following me, yeah, I do a lot of AI stuff.
No, I think analytics is one of the building blocks of product management, the way I see it. It's like a must for anyone who talks about product, does product.
Absolutely.
Uh, Unless we
Yeah,
do it well, we don't do our job well.
for sure, for
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah.
It identifies the hidden patterns that you don't normally see in customer activity, which is what's so great
Exactly.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
100%.
before we start, tell us about yourself. How did you get to product management? And in general, what do you like about product?
Amazing. So I started as a product manager in 2013, so about 13 years ago. I served an intelligence unit in the IDF, and I just became a product manager of an internal product. Then I was like, well, maybe it's not what I want to do in my life. Got discharged, went to study law, interned in corporate law, worked with startups from the legal standpoint, and very, very quickly went back to product. And I worked for various companies, including education technology companies, cybersecurity, really a large variety. And then I became a freelance product manager because I realized that what I really love to do is to work with entrepreneurs and on the very, very initial stages of ideation of product and how do we even understand what our users need. I've been doing that for 4 years now, and recently I became an entrepreneur myself, and I have my own startup, and we are launching very, very soon, officially. And in my startup as well, so I focus on the product part, on the data part, and I work with other people who help me do the other things.
And what's the startup for?
It's a health management app for women with chronic conditions. Currently, during our go-to-market, focusing on women with endometriosis and adenomyosis, which are two of the most prevalent chronic conditions in women. They hurt 1 in 10 women worldwide, both of them. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Amazing. That's very important. Definitely something I like to see more in the world with good products like that.
Yeah,
For sure.
100%. It's a shame that no one does it. Like no one did that before me, but I'm happy to be the one to step up and build something in that sphere.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with your
And-
entrepreneur spirit as well. I do want to note that we have a lot of Israeli background guests on the show, and it seems like the IDF has a real incubator for entrepreneurship. We talked a
Yeah.
lot of like startups and entrepreneur spirit, so always really inspiring.
I think in Israel it's just a very, very very easy to go into entrepreneurship because being a founder in Israel is everyone is super close. So you know the
Mm,
investors, you know the CTOs, you know the product managers, you know everyone. Everything is super, super tight.
yeah.
So the second that you have an idea, you have at least 10 people who can help you turn that idea into reality. So I
it
think it's a really good ground to build upon.
truly
It's
is an
one of the reasons I
incubator.
travel back to Israel so much.
Yeah,
Excellent.
it's like a standard city size in America, the entire country.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's like an entire country for YC. Like we have YC here in San Francisco, but like
Yeah.
it's
yeah,
very exclusive, but
exactly.
yeah, it's like the entire country is.
And money
Yeah.
goes over there because people know to that there is some great innovation. And if you're already on the topic, a great book to read is Startup Nation. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
if the someone listening to this and they never heard about this book, go check it out to see just how the culture and ecosystem and people helping each other and the need, mainly the need, is creating that. Let's move maybe into our topic today, because our
Yeah.
topic today is really, really interesting. And you know, I guess it's no surprise that it's coming from a woman, because probably men would not think about that, unfortunately.
True.
But tell us a bit about the background of that, gender-based analytics.
Looking at it from like a product manager's point of view, one of the things in like the basic product manager rules is that you have to know your customer. You have to know who your users are. You have to know what they need, how they think to be able to build the best product you can for these users. One of the things that we don't really think about, especially in B2B, but sometimes in B2C as well, is the gender of our user, even though it has a pretty big impact on how these users actually use our products and how they act around them. So for me, I didn't even think about it coming into like being a product manager, a cybersecurity company, the most classic B2B company, like SaaS, whatever you can like think of. That's where I was. And we were turning four legacy platforms into one. So there were four platforms, each for different B2B customer. The people who used this product or these platforms were analysts. They were text analysts, so they would use the platform to read a lot of information, scan what they need to look for, and write summaries, to simplify it. But when we were going to turn these four platforms into one, the big issue was which features are we saving, which are we not, why, and how do we make this one consolidated flow? And then I got into the data and I realized that in one of the like main platforms, the users were not using the filtering system at all. So there are a lot of like things like there are news items and there are emails and there's a lot of content. Filtering is kind of how you are able to understand what is important within all that content. And they were not using that feature. So I was like, what? Like how could that be?
Hmm.
That is impossible. And I looked at the data and I started like drilling down into it. And I realized that about half the users were using the filter and half were not. And I could not understand for the life of me why. So I did what someone who is like me does, and I took myself and I went to the offices of this specific client. And I sat down with the analyst and I was like, okay, so let me see how you use how you work with the platform. I sat with the male analyst and I sat with the female analysts. And I realized that while the male analysts were using the filtering system, the women had like a bookmark of their like pre-filtered filters. And every time they went on the platform, it was already pre-filtered for them, which
Hmm.
is amazing. That's how the like we should have that feature, but we didn't, and it did not click on our analytics. We were not getting that. So I realized that there was something missing in our analytics. That was one, but two, I realized that there was a completely different type of usage of the platform between genders. It could have been completely opposite. It could have been like men using the filtering system, the like pre-filtered, and women using the filtering system. I have no idea until today why that was the case and
Hmm.
why they didn't share it between them.
Hmm.
Um, but that really helped us understand that when we rebuild the system, we have to add like a pre-filtered concept there that they can use that will save time for all the analysts across all companies that were using these platforms. Um, And this way we were able to like really build a much better feature.
Yeah.
Then I started diving deeper into this and I realized that it's not that it's a like equality, gender. When we talk about women and female users, then we need to look at different things. That's not the case. It's like actual differences that we cannot change. We might not be able to completely understand, but unless we take them into account, our products will be half as good as they can be.
Hmm. Yeah, it
Mm.
doesn't really matter why they choose what they choose. The fact is that they behave differently.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I talk about in the book now is sort of the three pillars of context. When we build products for users, we talk about the person, like who they are, the how they act, and where they do it. So there are three different layers of it. We can change who these users are. We can't change how they act. They act the way they act. Trying to teach them and educating the crowds all the time is impossible. So the only thing that we can change is the what they use and how they use it. Like the third pillar, like it's this is what we can do with it. We can use the who they are and how they act and turn it into a better product for them.
This is really, really interesting because I mean, some of the thoughts that I had while you were telling the
Yeah.
backstory is that in marketing, or even before that, when I started product management and started in learning into personas and building personas for product management, the
Yeah.
first thing that people will give me would be the marketing personas. And marketing personas always take the gender into account. But
Sure.
in product management, the
Mhm.
personas are quite different because we're not looking necessarily at demographics. We're not looking necessarily at, gender. We don't look necessarily at those things. We look more at what is a problem that they have and what will solve that problem for them. And then all the things that will impact the problem. So, like you said, where they are, how they act, the ecosystem that they have, all of that
Mhm.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
But that kind of bring back that there is still importance for the things that marketing people are looking at because they have those psychologies of the people and what
Yeah.
to sell to them and what to tell them and how to position things. And demographic is probably some of it. Oh, sorry, gender is one of it, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And
No, so I think it's going back to basics,
mhm.
Mhm.
really.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying we should go back to the marketing personas, which still look much deeper than that. But
Yeah.
the example that you gave is really, really interesting to hear.
At its
Yeah.
fundamental, you have it's almost like we're hard coded. Like we have a hard coded
Yeah.
disposition to do some sort of workflow. And on top of that, then you start to layer in the age and location and these other elements that, ultimately define like how we interact with the system. I've worked in legacy systems and, trying to build new product for legacy systems is really difficult because those systems often lack a lot of different things, new functionality. And so how men and women handle these legacy systems can be completely different because they just simply lack certain things. But once you start to add different functionality, they start to like drift off and start to do their own little thing that's hard coded into how they live and,
Yeah.
and interact.
Yeah.
That's actually the interesting part because like when you come into these like legacy products or products that exist for a very long time, you have different people using the
Hmm.
platforms differently.
Right.
These differences can be age-based and they
Yep.
can be gender-based.
Yep.
But there are differences. So when you come and add features into an existing product, that is something that you have to take into account because then you can really improve the product because the male user flow or the female user flow might be better and easier. They might make things faster. The hacks that they find in the platform and how they
Hmm.
use it can teach us as product managers how we can do better.
Right.
Mm.
That's typically what you don't see sometimes, like because they have to go outside the application
Yeah.
to accomplish something new. They've had to build a
That
separate workflow to tackle a problem.
that's where our data is lacking. That's why
Hmm.
like our analytics are they can tell us a lot, but in these cases they can usually tell us where the holes are, like
Yeah.
what we don't see. And then
Hmm.
the thing that we don't see, we have to kind of go and figure out ourselves and then add
Right.
that into the analytics because that is
To
going to
fill in
help
the
us in the
gaps.
future.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's our
Yeah.
value as product managers to go in and understand those hidden spaces where people often spend a lot of time.
In like in legacy products and like big products, existing products, it's super clear. But then how do you do it with a new product? So it's one of the big things when you're a founder and you want to build
Yeah.
something new. How do you take that into account? How do you know what to ask and who to ask and
Right.
how to really define what each persona needs in this case?
Straight out of the box, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah. And the important thing is also to understand who's the audience for the product, because still there are products that probably will be used more by men than women, or more by
true.
women than men, right? Their target users are more one of the genders. And then in that case, I would say it's less important, or well, what do you think?
I would say that it's not less important. I would say that our focus is a bit different because we won't be looking at both genders the same way. We will be looking more, like, for example, my startup, our users are only women.
Hmm.
So people who have endometriosis, adenomyosis, it like the percentage of men who actually get impacted by these conditions is less than 1%. So we're
Hmm.
not looking at men, we're looking just at women.
Hmm.
So the way that we build the product caters to the psychology and the user flows
Right.
and the needs of women, especially women with chronic conditions. It's a very, very specific type of like life and needs.
Yeah.
So it's not that I don't look at what differentiates men and women because I only treat women. I take note of that and I build based on what
Right.
my users need. But
Yeah.
with most products, it's not the case.
Right.
So I gave an example of like a B2B company, like product that hate like you don't know, like the client is a business. But at the end of the day, you have users using that client. Monday is a really good example for that. So
Hmm.
you have both female and male users who use Monday, but it's a B2B platform. They
Yes.
can use the platform differently, different use cases. Specifically in Monday, it's not really gender-based there, but they do add features and add concepts into Monday based on how their users use their platform. So
Hmm.
you have the CRM, you have the sales, you have like different types of Monday that they build within their company because of the hacks and because of how people use it. So it's sort of the same thing, just taking a look at the gender as well
Hmm.
while you're building it.
So let's say that I am a new, founder that want to build a new product, or I'm a product manager
Yeah.
in a company and I want to build a new product or some new features, maybe a new product completely.
Yeah.
And I'm going through validation right now. And I'm asking like how many users I need to test it with. So traditionally, I would ask it like in general without specific gender. Is
Yeah.
the right question now is how many male and how many female? And
Yeah.
actually, in many locations around the world, there are additional genders other than male and female. So do
True.
I have to also start doing that? What's your recommendations?
So I would look at it as first thing, who are the people who are using the platform or are supposed to use it? So if it's a female catered app, of course, like we can kind of limit
Yeah,
the
of course.
genders that we're talking to.
But let's say
But if
something
we
that
don't know,
usually
yeah,
usually is for the
if we seem
general.
like it's a regular, like average product that we have male, female, and all the other genders using it. So I would try and take, if we're taking, let's say, 20 people, so have kind of the percentage of like male users, female users, and other genders. I would not take too many, but I don't know. In my startup, for example, I talked to over 100 women. So if we take that and like if we try breaking it down, so I would take at least for a new company, new product for like founders, I would take, let's say, 40 men, 40 women, and then 20 who are either like non-binary or like somewhere on that sphere of genders, just so I'll be able to really build that properly. It won't 100% necessarily change what I think I should build and how I should build it, but it will give me a much better validation
Mm.
just because the things that I think are painful are not necessarily as painful for like different types of users. So
Right.
it's
Mhm.
not it's more of a learning concept
Yeah.
than necessarily like a data like collection
Yeah. Okay.
process.
Some of it
Yeah.
is qualitative for sure.
Yeah, of course.
Um, so you told me before that you have a system or a process for that. I would love you to share it with us, and I assume that this is what you will get into the book also, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm dividing it into like steps and stages. So let's start with a product manager who already works in a company that is like a big company, has its processes, the product exists. It's like what do you do on Monday morning when you come to work to understand what you do better?
Yeah.
And that's where I would go into the analytics. Like the first thing for someone starting out and trying to figure out how to take gender into account in building products is to take the data that you already have. Look at it, understand if you can identify like female users and male users, and then try like use all the analytics tools that you have to understand their workflows. So how do they use the app? When do they open it or the platform? Like what
Mhm.
time? What features are most used by them? Do you see differences in like where they click or how much they click on different things? So a good example for that would be I'll go to the B2C, Tinder. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
So men and women have a very, very different user flow,
Yeah.
usage flow with Tinder, very, very different. And in many cases, the algorithm of Tinder or different dating apps sort of punishes the usage flow of male users versus female users um, because of the way that they use. So understanding these differences, like how do they act within your platform, is really, really important. You might not find any difference, which is fine. But if you do, try to understand where it comes from and try to
Mhm.
see what we can understand from it.
Mhm.
So let's say that you checked your analytics, you looked at male users and female users, and you saw that in a specific app, in a specific flow, they do something completely different. So the men use a filtering system and the women don't,
Mhm.
like my case.
Mhm.
Try to understand why. Hop on a call with two users of each type, let's say. Like, let them show you what they do. Let them explain why they do what they do, how they work. And once you figure that out, you can start asking questions. So maybe female users, they are also mothers and they try to make their work a bit more efficient and they want to finish earlier. So they find the hacks that help them work faster. Or maybe with male users, they can see something that is completely redundant and they just do it. Like they skip a step. So there are different things that we can find and we can see. And the analytics is what leads us to the right people that we can ask the questions.
I'm thinking the
Like,
normal distribution as well. You're going to have outliers. So you're going to have the
yeah,
people using it, females using it a way you didn't intend. So they're going to be really
exactly.
interesting to go, oh, why are they not fitting into this bell curve? Let's identify what they are and then incorporate that into the product as well.
Exactly. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, the goal is not to make like equal products for all. The goal is to build better products for the people who use them. The more we can learn from our users, the better we are. And if the difference in usage is gender, why not take a look at it?
Yep.
So the way I look at it is like there was like the second wave and the third wave of feminism. So one of them said that we are equal and the same, and the other said that we are equal and we are not the same. So I'm looking at it as we are equal, but we are not the same. We do not function the same way. We do not think the same way. We are not built the same way. There are relevant differences that make us work differently.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't take that into account, then what are we doing?
Right.
Exactly. You want to be equal, but not in a world that was built just for men. So,
Exactly.
mhm.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. So like I said, the Monday morning checklist would be go into your analytics, check the flows, divide your like male and female users, see if there are any differences, and if there are, go, go dive deeper into this.
Mm-hmm.
For product managers or founders, let's say, who are just starting out, the
Mhm.
checklist is a bit different. So that would really be understanding, first of all, the pain and who has the pain. So if it's a pain that is super common for different types of users, collect the different types of users and make sure that you talk to everyone to really build your understanding of the problem and how painful it is, and what do people currently do to solve it for themselves. Because the solution can be very, very different in female and male users, depending on the
Mm-hmm.
issue, depending on where they are, depending on the time that they have. Um, Understand how they hack it.
Right.
And different genders will probably hack it in different ways. And from there, you can start building.
And I don't know if you're planning an AI component of this, but I'm also thinking about females in my family who are adverse to using AI in some ways.
Yeah.
But I know that men and women have to engage with AI in different ways when it comes down to how you write your prompts and how you ask questions and the problems you have that you need solving. I mean, that's probably something that really needs to be looked into, if not already. So,
It has to be taken into account.
yeah.
There's actually a really cool story about voice recognition AIs. I don't remember which one it was, like which company, but they modeled the voice recognition on the data sets that they had, which were mainly male voices. So,
Hmm.
and it was perfect. It was like a 98% like success rate with recognizing male voices. It was incredible. But then once women started talking to this AI
It
agent,
starts
like
to
the voice
fall apart.
recognition system, it did not understand them. It could not.
Right.
Very
So there are
interesting.
different things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm?
No, that's very interesting. It reminds me similar to how face recognition was working very well for white people, but not for black people.
Hmm.
So
Exactly.
in a
Yep.
similar way, this is for men, but not for women. Funny enough, I don't know why. Recently, our Alexa changed from greeting us with my wife's name, started greeting us with my name. I have no idea why. My wife
Interesting.
is the one who uses it all the time, but now she greets
It
me
got
with
upset. It got upset with her and wants to talk to you more.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
And
I
so
have
there
no
are
idea why
different.
it started. It started calling by my
But
name.
wants to talk to you more. That's
I
weird.
don't know. I don't know what's going on over there. But no, this is really really interesting. And in the back of my mind, I'm all thinking also about like the non-binaries. If there is differences over there, or if there is more like, do you know of any studies that were done that it's more
I
like
don't.
the male behavior or the or people that are it's a bit hard now these days, and
Yeah.
I'm old enough to for me to be for it to be confusing. So I'm sorry if I am I don't want to be unsensitive for any of our listeners.
Yeah.
But in general, people that identify themselves as male versus female, is the non-binary is more like this or more like that, or there is also a whole non-binary um,
So I have to say that
analytics
even
there.
yeah, so even with like the basic of like male female differentiators in like tech, you don't really have studies on it. No one really talks about it. So you
Mhm.
have some like for education, like health, and you have like different spheres where it is starting to be researched, but not in tech. So for non-binaries or for transgender people or for pretty much anything else, we are way, way, way too early to like
Yes.
have research on it, but we are not too early to take that responsibility on ourselves and say, okay, I will check. Like
Yeah.
it's important for me. I want to make sure that I'm building the best product. I know that, for example, if we're taking a dating app, I know that there are transgender people and non-binary people who are using my app. Their percentage is probably as high as it is in the like public.
Mhm.
So I will take that into account and I will start looking for it.
Yeah.
And dating apps, it's super easy because they also mark their genders like in
Yeah.
their
Yeah,
profile.
that's
Yeah.
it.
They
Yeah.
like you have that, so you can
Yeah.
really divide the data and start looking into it and seeing like, do they use it differently? What usage like is it more like is it does it look more like male usage, female usage is something completely different that we don't know? Like, do they have different user flows that we didn't think about? How do they hack the system to work for them because it wasn't
Mhm.
built for them originally?
Right. Right. That's really interesting. Okay, cool. So we talked about people that are using it. They have an existing product. Monday
Yeah.
morning, they have a checklist. We talked about new founders or new product managers for new products. What
Yeah.
should we do? Um, is there any, like you said, there is not really study out there, which is unfortunate. So maybe we should call out to some researchers to start doing this type of studies. But are there already known patterns or known things like you discovered that you're aware of or that people can take and start using instead of having to do all the research from scratch, right? Yeah, when
Yeah.
I'm
So
looking into new products to build a new product, especially with new products, I'm like, I don't want to worry about everything that most people already developed in the past. I just want to worry about the things that are new and novel in my new product, right?
yeah.
So what about that?
So in these cases, I would look into like the specific sphere of like my product. So if it's an education tech product or a health tech product, I would go into research about patterns, like female and male patterns in these specific spheres. So it would be for education, for example, um, like a different speed of soft skill learning at young age. It can be like different things that we already know that they were researched and heavily researched, and I can incorporate them into the product that I'm building if I want to build a good product for like K-12 education, let's say.
Mhm.
If it's a healthcare app, or platform, I would go and look at how male and female users currently use health apps, which we do have some research on it. And if it's condition specific, I would look at the differences in that specific condition between male and female, and then I can understand how it works and how to build my product a bit better. It's not perfect. It doesn't
Mhm.
like reduce my responsibility of checking that later and verifying that they are actually using the app the way that they're supposed to, and that like the analytics work with my assumptions based on the research that I did. But it does help get a jump start on how to build better in these cases. And the interesting is that in most cases, so far, founders and product managers did not take that into account. So the products that we see today are not based on that. They're not based on the gender difference like research. So whatever we build, it will 100% be better just because of that, because we're taking that as well into account when we are building, in terms like the how the product performs for our users.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting point. Yeah, we bring in our own biases as product managers.
Yeah.
When we develop a feature, we work with a team. Sometimes just these hidden biases we have that we don't know as, that are native to our hardwiring, I guess.
No, it's true. It sort of forces us to remove our own biases and look
Uh-huh.
into like actual data that can help us,
Yeah.
which is something I love because most teams don't have both like female and male like product
Yeah.
managers or developers. In tech, still there are mostly like men working in tech and high tech. It's so the biases are there. So it's interesting to be able to diversify it based on gender.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Because I'm just thinking of going back to the example you had with the bookmark versus the filter, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Something as not as innocuous as that, but it makes a big difference, clearly.
Yeah.
It's probably a true statement what you said that most people are still male working in tech, but I'm kind of not looking at it anymore like that. I'm looking at more the positions. So like developers versus product manager versus designers.
Sure.
And I think that
Sure.
developers, it's probably more male. Product managers, I think it's 50-50 in my head at
It
least.
might be.
And
I
and
think today it
designers,
might be getting closer to 50-50. Yeah.
yeah, and designers, I think it's more female.
And
But
True.
I might be wrong about that. This is just my bias, maybe.
I, I'm going to throw another wrinkle in there with AI again. So,
Mm.
there's also the AI component with vibe coding. Michelle and I just wrapped up a
Yeah.
series on vibe coding. So there's probably some inherited biases in the
Yeah.
models that are running to help you
True.
design things. Hey, I want to add this button somewhere. The model's like, hey, add it over here because this is where I believe it should be, based upon the my knowledge. So, but who
It's
programmed that
actually super
knowledge?
cool. It's actually super cool because I built the whole like beta version of our MVP, like using vibe coding. Like I built it on
Yeah.
base 44 just for the sake of the
Oh,
discussion.
excellent. Yeah.
And like most apps, most like sites that you build on base 44 and like the friends, they look very similar. Like you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
identify from like a first, maybe second glance that it was built by AI because it
Mhm.
really builds things in a very like systematic
It
way. Like
does.
the buttons are in the same places
Based
they
on
are
the
designed. Like my
examples that it learned from, yeah.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then so it took me, I think, 3 weeks working with Base 44, like with different prompts to make sure that my app does not look like Base
That's a,
44. Um, it requires a lot of work. So it's interesting the bias. I did not think
Yeah.
about it, but it's
Yeah.
probably like there's probably something in there.
there's something inside. There's something in the data, the analytics behind
Yeah,
it for
But
sure.
to your point,
definitely.
Matt, and to what I said before about the gender breakdown in the positions, Base 44 learns not just from the code, it learns also from the design. And if the
Hmm.
design that it learned from, most of it came from women designers, then
Hmm.
the design itself might be more female oriented. So I
Yeah.
don't
Right.
know. I don't know really. I have no idea because
I don't know.
we really have to look into the numbers, and this is just
Yeah.
our, guesses and biases over here as
Hmm.
well. Cool. So you now looked into the research and patterns, and if you find something, that's great. If you didn't find something or things that are new to your specific to your product, I think we touched on it a bit before that you still have to have some type of breakdown of users. Now, in the
Yeah.
past, when I started doing wireframing testing and value testing with users, I would I ask, that was, I think, probably 15 years ago. And the recommendations I found back then from people that did it and from the internet was around 12 testers, 12 users. These
Yeah.
days, or last year, I looked into it, or a couple of years ago, and it says 6 people. And now some people are saying like 3 people. And I'm like, at the end, you just don't test it. That's it. But you know, going back
Yes.
into how many people really need to test things with, my recommendations these days really is not a number, but more like when you see things coming up again and again and there is nothing new that you learn
Yeah.
from it, then you probably should stop. But
Yes.
it's hard for some people to do that because they want to plan, they want to expect, they want to know, etc., especially when it's hard to find users to test it with.
True.
Now that you add also the gender on top of that, then it kind of at least double the amount of people that you need to test with, but it's actually a bit more because of the non-binary. So so
Yeah.
so what do we do?
So I'm like very Israeli in that way. Like I'm the build fast, ship fast, test fast. Uh, like when you ship, you can see your users, you can start collecting data, you can start learning from it. I would go that route. Like test less before shipping, test more after, and then start fixing. It works really well with like new startups, like when you're building a product from from square one, like square zero. Doesn't work as well with like more mature products, but even there, like you can start A/B testing with your current like user base and learn from that. So that's my approach. I know it's a very, very Israeli approach. It's like super like straight to the point, go there. But I find that it works best. It saves you time. Yes, it does mean that you plan a bit less and that like you have to adapt to moving faster. But it works. I
Yeah.
mean,
Operating here my Israeli brain, I completely agree with you. But also, operating my Canadian brain, people find it hard here, at least, to find users, even once their product is ready and well, ready, in air
yeah.
quotes here, but out there. Um, so it is definitely a challenge for a lot of people.
100%. It's not easy, but I would say that if you have trouble finding people to test your app, then you have a better chance finding them when you ship it and like give it for free for 2 weeks, for example, or like do something and you start
Mhm.
working on the like go to market before you finished like building your product properly. It's like skipping a step, but and it's weird. It does not really make sense for people who are super logical and have to like build things like one after the other. Um, but it does mean that you are able to learn a lot faster and you skip that like I can't find testers issue. I have like a friend, she's a founder, she lives in Vancouver now. I think they just moved. Israeli, and she wants to build a product for students, like college student, university students, and she's looking for people to talk to like do some validation, and she can't find them. No one will talk to her. It's like super weird. So my recommendation to her was like read a little bit, find like two people that do agree to talk to you, then ship something that they can use and play with.
Hmm.
It's like one of the things, even like Base 44, for example, or Notion, they started with like a user base, like a Facebook group of people,
Yeah,
like a community that they
that's what I was
built
thinking.
around their product, and then it started growing.
Yeah.
So for some products, for some product types, like ship, let people use it. Like open a group where they can talk about it, make
Yep.
them feel part of it. You will learn a lot more and you will be able to start collecting data from that point to really make sure that you take into account like everything that you want to, including gender, including age, including like everything that you want to look at, you'll be able to see that way. For example, if you open it and you only have male users and you know that like your product does not like cater to women the way that you thought it would, maybe.
Hmm. That, that
Like,
that that's a really good point. Yeah, I'm thinking of my wife, using Facebook groups, very viral, very community based. Like, hey, they
yeah.
share referrals of different things. Where speaking for myself as a man, like I'm not going to always refer things to Mache on the
Yeah.
latest greatest things to use. But so yeah, that might be a really good hack for these types of things. Like look for other workflows, like Facebook
Yeah.
communities, things to like get more viral, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Amazing. Is there any other step in the process, or we covered all of it?
I think we covered all of it. I think the main point here is to keep that in mind. So it's not always straightforward. It's usually not the first thing that comes up to our like heads when we work on a product, no matter like what stage we are at. But it is something to keep in mind because it keeps us on our toes and it makes sure that like we don't build based on biases. We don't build from what's in our head, and we don't build to like, let's say, the 50% of the population that is male or the 50% population that is female. The fact that we keep that in mind already makes us better as product managers, as like builders, when we are able to actually take our thoughts and put them into action, then we actually get a result that we can see and that we can check and we can even feel better because we know that we did something that actually works. So just like the main point is keep it in mind.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah. So these days, I mean, accessibility is a very known thing. A lot of people have it in
Yeah,
mind. A lot of people, this is their job in life to help people make
yeah.
their system more accessible. Is that something that already exists, or that it's your vision in the world that there will be gender-based accessibility to systems? Or that's
So
what you aim with your book?
I aim with my book, I don't want to have people in charge of that because I don't think it's right since like we're building products that are, usually, 50%, 50%. Like
Yeah.
there shouldn't be one person who is in charge of accessibility for gender.
Hmm.
I think that as product managers or as founders and entrepreneurs, people who build things and are in charge of like deciding what to build and how to build it, the responsibility is on us. Like, so my book is sort of like like the playbook for people to understand how to do it, but more importantly, why to do it. Because I think that the why here is what makes us think about it really and keep that in our minds. Um, so it's a playbook. I think that we are the ones who have to like take responsibility and be in charge and make sure that what comes out from like under our hands is the best version of what we can build.
Amazing. Perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have any more questions. What about you, Matt?
Maybe one last one as a founder, for our listeners out there, what's maybe one thing as a founder that they might want to keep in mind? This could be something that's wonderful about founding a business or something that you're currently struggling with. So what's one nugget that they might take with them?
That's actually a really, really good question. I would say that like be confident in what you do and what you build because a lot of people might tell you that it makes no sense to them. They might
Mm,
not understand. But at the end of the day, if you identified a problem and you see that it's a real problem that you want to solve, don't let like voices from around you dictate how you build it
right.
or whether you build it. Do the work.
Yep.
You can do it. Like if you found a problem, go with it.
Self-belief. Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
excellent.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. And what stage is your book at? When do you expect it to be out?
Almost done. So I have like two chapters left to write and then it's done.
And are
I heard the
you?
ending is like the hardest thing to write a book with. So like coming
Yeah.
up with the ending.
I'm
Um,
juggling the like startup launch with like writing the book. So it takes a little bit of time, but I believe that by spring it will already be ready and out there.
Amazing. Will you have more examples in the book about other type of
Yeah.
products and other founders or product managers that dealt with that?
Yeah, types of products, reasoning of why the average is never what we aim for, and anything that you want to hear about gender-based analytics and gender-based product management.
So hopefully we'll have you for another episode before the end of the year.
I hope so too.
That'd be
Yes,
awesome.
amazing, amazing.
Amazing.
Where can people reach out to you?
LinkedIn, I'm super reachable and available on there. I answer pretty much everyone, so that's the best way.
That's
Thank you
it.
for
That's
having
it.
me. I'm so happy. It was
Yes.
fun.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Leah, for joining us on the show. Thank you to all the listeners, and thank you, Moshe, as always. And we'll talk to everybody next time. Take care.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you to all the listeners. We really appreciate the feedback and support. Please leave us a review to help others find the show on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else you're listening to the show.